Red Moon Roleplaying, in association with the Adventure Hook podcast, proudly present a Black Spire Studios rendition of the advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition classic Planescape adventure To Baator and Back, which we've humorously subtitled Hell is Other People. This episode contains themes and situations that may be offensive to some audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Greetings. My name is Mattiaz Fredrickson of Red Moon Roleplay, but tonight I am Sir Milton Vespers, the Atoner. To Baator and Back. Episode 7. The Stepping Stones of Good Intentions. My secret shame is that I am but a shadow of what I once was, and the lies that have followed with that now run so deep I have almost begun to believe them myself. But now, at long last, redemption is finally within my reach, and I will risk everything I have left to grasp it. My very soul depends on it. Abandoned as an infant to be raised by pious monks, the first name they taught me was Solaris. Solaris is the name the peoples of Terragastia have given to the bright and shining sun, which stands in eternal opposition to his dark twin, Nrith, the Black Sun. Solaris shone his light upon the branches of the titanic world tree, from which it is believed that countless creatures, including most of the civilized races, then sprang forth from. The first elves were said to have stepped forth from out of a lotus flower on the tree's upper branches, while the first men burst forth from out of an apple that had tumbled to earth. Gnomes could ever be found among the mushrooms growing about its titanic base, and the earliest dwarves made their home among its tangled roots in the sunless world below. For eons, the light of the gods each in turn shone upon the world tree, ever shaping the creatures it would birth forth next. But, even the pagan druids must admit, of all of the celestial deities in the firmament above, it is always towards Solaris that the world tree will bend its branches. For truly, Solaris represents all that is good in the world: strength, courage, compassion, healing, learning, law, and even truth and beauty. Wherever there is good, that is the light of Solaris, and wherever the light is absent, that is the darkness of Nrith. And in the theocracy of Solon, where sun worship is our state religion, and where the infallible Pope also serves the role of the head of state, there is no finer example of man living by Solaris' standards. And within the past millennia, the theocracy has even adopted the basic and simple policy that only divine magic should be practiced, and that arcane magic, by comparison, is seen as anathema against that which is holy. Something to be suppressed or eradicated. Over the centuries, this has caused our holy theocracy to clash with a great many nations, such as the Empire of Necros, the Majocracy of Adon Far, and even the Kingdom of Navulon, our neighbors to the east, over these orthodox beliefs. But as I was taught from a very young age, sometimes war is the price we pay to prove our faith. Now it's been over 3 generations since the first murmurings of the Inquisitor bishops prompted Pope Zealous XIII to command every able-bodied Solarian, from knight to priest to unarmed peasant, to marshal as one great army for the grandest crusade the world had ever seen. Dubbed the Bishop's Crusade, Faithful men, women, and children by the countless thousands marched behind knights, gargoyles, dragons, and the rest of the combined might of the Church of Solaris down into the bowels of the underworld. There, this army of saints would finally make open war against the storied Lich King himself and lay waste to the army of the damned. The Church would crusade to lay siege to hell itself. Not a single one of them returned. A second Bishop's Crusade was launched as reinforcements, and eerily they too failed to return. Many years later, Pope Zealous XIV ordered a third crusade mobilized to investigate the ultimate fate of the Lost Crusaders. And many Solonians openly refused, particularly those folk long lived enough to remember the First Crusade. In the entirety of the theocracy, only a single elf volunteered to join the army of the Third Crusade. Infuriated by their defiance, ultimately the Pope would end up excommunicating all the remaining Solarian elves still living within the theocracy. And after that bloody fallout, there was no more talk of crusading. In the long dark years that followed, it was not uncommon for unwed mothers to leave any excess children they had acquired to the charitable orphanages, diligent workhouses, and pious monasteries throughout the lands of the theocracy. And so it was that the mother I never knew made a gift of me to Solaris, and the monks that took me in aimed to mold me into something great, something worthy, something that would serve the will of the Church. Early on in my boyhood, my extreme strength of body coupled with, I suppose, a certain strength of personality garnered the attention of the Holy Order of Dragon Knights, who, after putting me through many trials, eventually accepted me into their ranks and began my strict training to become a paladin. I was still considered quite young the day when one of the Dragon Knight's swords first awakened in my hand to become a true Holy Avenger blade, mine with a semi-empathic sense of approval. And the Order conducted my final initiations into the Paladin Knighthood. At its culmination, I was given the honor of bearing this Holy Avenger, and ever since that day, the sword has guided my actions by regularly sending me its impulses of approval or disapproval, all to keep a young paladin on the straight and narrow. Like me, it too could detect the presence of those who harbored evil in their hearts, and through it I could also detect and even dispel heretical arcane magics as well. A skill which came in particularly handy during my first laying on of hands pilgrimage, which I chose to make in the kingdom of Navilon, where I'd helped the local Solarians identify and occasionally neutralize unregistered hedge wizards and other magical charlatans. So holy and devout did I become in the eyes of my fellows then that I soon earned the surname Vespers, for how often I could be found praying over the course of a monk's entire hour of observation. However, I was truly never one for dogmatic debate or ecclesiastical pursuits. All I cared about were dragons. From the moment I first saw one angelically depicted in the stained glass window of the monastery, they became a preoccupation of mine. And so, every day, hour after hour, I would pray, often directly to iconography featuring metallic dragons. Now the 5 flights of metallic dragons, gold, silver, bronze, brass, and copper, are believed by the Solarians to be of divine origin, that the original dragons of Terragastia were called here from out of the very sun itself. The metallic dragons suffered great losses to the Bishop's Crusades, just the same as the rest of the faithful, and those few dragons that had remained behind had only done so because their oath to defend the White Cathedral came first. Today, they and their broods are the last few living dragons who can claim descent from such divine blood. So the church considered it a cause of much rejoicing when a mysterious nun suddenly revealed herself to be the bronze dragon Shaaraxxis, called Stormsong, and made it known.
I have come to this chapel to serve as your mount, Sir Vespers.
Just like the original Dragon Knights of old. It was love at first sight. My relationship to Shaaraxxis was the subject of much whispered debate among our fellow Solarians, though ours would hardly be the first dragonborn child to result from such a union. Regardless of the truth of any potential romance between us, in military matters we two were a perfect team, and quickly rose to the attention of even Pope Zealous XV himself. It had taken the better part of a century to rebuild the papal armies back to even a fraction of its former glory before the Bishop's Crusade, and so now I was to find myself appointed to the Papal Dragon Guard itself, the Church's most elite order of holy knights, comprised solely of dragon-riding paladins. We joined with over 24 other dragon riders, in command of a unit of over 500 gargoyles of the White Cathedral to carry out the will of the Pope all over the face of Terragastia. In time, the church caught wind that the hated chromatic dragons were engaging one another in a titanic civil war that threatened to wipe nearly the entire species out. It appears that the Underdark had produced a strange new cult, and the men and dragons both had begun to worship a 5-headed goddess called Tiamat, the Dragon Queen of Darkness. And those of both their kinds who would not convert would be consumed. Upon the prompting of Inquisitor Blackchapel, it was decided that the Dragon Guard would use this opportunity to strike out at some of the Church's ancient dragon foes. And so costly, bloody campaigns were launched, first against the green dragons of the Mirald Forest, and immediately afterwards against the blue dragons of the Cathan Basin. Though fatalities were high, I fought on, and on faithfully, for my sword ever approved the war against the evil worms. Many ancient foes were bested, and many martyrs of ages past were avenged in those attacks. But it was our third campaign against the hated Reds of the Isle of Dragonstone, where Stormsong and I met our true nemesis, the Blackguard, Sir Dagobert Darkmace, an anti-paladin of Tiamat, astride the red dragon Shkerkul, called Scorchclaw. No one else survives to this day to corroborate the events of what came to be known as the Battle of Bloodrain, which occurred between the Papal Dragon Guard and the Tiamatian dragon forces of Sir Darkmace. And in truth I, the sole survivor of the front lines, have the experiences of that day etched into my mind. Yet I can barely admit those details, even to myself, and whether in truth it is out of shame or fear, I've never truly confirmed the full breadth of what has happened that day to another living soul, even to Pope Zealous himself. However, here are the details of which I can be certain. The Dragon Guard were inadvertently doing a significant bit of the cult of Tiamat's dirty work for them, and so now only the white dragons of the north remain to convert to Tiamat worship or be destroyed. During our battle with the anti-paladin, Stormsong was given cause to sacrifice herself to save my life, and as a result found herself literally dragged, both body and soul, to the hellish realms of Tiamat. And Darkmace promised imprisoned there for all eternity. The last words I heard her wail as she was pulled down into the utter darkness were,
"I see that I was wrong about you after all!"
Though my life had been miraculously spared, and on my own I even survived to make my way back to the Theocracy, still Solaris had stripped me of my paladin abilities that day, and ever since, my Dragon Knight sword has ceased to function as a true holy avenger for me. Instead, all I feel from the enchanted blade is a steady empathic pulse of disapproval, and the occasional impulse to find the sword a worthier bearer than myself. Whatever truly happened that day, it was certainly all my fault. All my faults. But despite what the actual truth of that day may or may not be, my claim was to have been struck in the head by Dark Mace very early on in the fight, and I fell unconscious from Dragonback into the shallows around Dragonstone Isle. Dazed, I still vividly remember the sky was raining blood, turning both land and water scarlet all around me. But I'd lapsed into unconsciousness and knew not how the battle actually ended. All of which is, of course, only half true. A number of long, desperate years hiding the secret that I am a fallen paladin have passed for me since then, with neither my beloved dragon companion, my trusty magic sword, nor even the smallest blessings of the sun to comfort me in my loneliness. Naturally, to keep up appearances, I still continue to pay the appropriate paladin tithes to the church, and the only keepsake of Stormsong that I have left is a single bronze scale that I wear around my neck at all times. And in truth, I treat it like a sacred relic, if not more so than my own Solaris holy symbol. However, thanks to an array of magic items, I'm still able to imitate many of the paladin's divine abilities, and I have managed to keep up appearances enough to find my way back into the Pope's service. Still licking our wounds from Dragonstone, the church seemed content that the cult of Tiamat was busy battling the white dragons of the glacier lands on the other side of the world, and so was currently ignoring us. Yet, without a true mount to ride into battle, my usefulness to what remained of the Dragon Guard was still quite limited. And on more than one occasion a fellow Solarian paladin or cleric had come dangerously close to discovering the terrible truth of my disgrace. I can only put off seeking to bond with another mount for so long before my period of mourning will have grown suspiciously long. Yet a chance encounter this year with a convincing young gypsy fortune-teller on her way to the Gravetree Carnival promised in her cards that before the winter solstice, the Pope would unknowingly offer me the key to my redemption. A dangerous quest that could ultimately restore my soul to a state of grace. And I have found myself on a most dangerous quest indeed. One through the perilous lands of perdition itself. I know not whether I should pity or envy those men who have had their entire lives taken by the memory-sapping waters of the river Styx, for these hellish visions may be easier to bear without the context of a former life. I, however, do not have the luxury of a blissful ignorance, and I know that in my heart a part of me belongs in this place, along with the rest of the damned. Yet even now, after all this time and all the hell that I have been through, and stood in the shadow cast by the very monuments to atrocity, I still believe in the light of Solaris, and even without the wisdom of my holy blade to guide me, still I will prove that I can be worthy for the sun's glory to shine upon my heart once more. I gladly endure all the torments of hell itself to prove my faith.
It is, indeed, a terrifying structure of jutting towers, thick gates, sharp angles, barbed walls, spiked fences, all of which seem now to be ringed with skulls. Many which look human, but many more which look to be titanic monsters, perhaps dragon skulls and the like, each impaled on its own iron barb that makes up this 30-foot high iron gate that sits on the top of the mountains that ring this castle.
Impossible.
This is the most defensible place you have ever seen. You cannot even imagine what sort of army could imagine assaulting this place, let alone taking it. But all throughout, it gives off a terrible aura, a palpable aura of danger, hatred, pain, suffering, and dark ecstasy.
I shudder a bit as I sketch it and capture its essence.
Very well.
This fortress, it is Unbelievable. It is greater than anything I have ever seen. How could such a structure exist? These titanic beings, these corpses, what were they? What could they have been? How can something so large die? Did they suffer, I wonder? Did they die of old age? Or were they killed? And if so, who killed them?
My thoughts turn to my falcon, Nyx. He is hooded and at rest. Just from him, sort of resting in that obliviousness, I feel a bit of a similar comfort, even though it's much like a bird hiding its head in the sand. A stupid analogy, but sometimes ignorance is bliss.
And I keep a brave face for the men, but I am taken by the words about Solaris and about this, yes, these words about my sword, and about it not having its blessing, and yes.
Do you miss it? Do you miss your sword's guidance today?
I do. Everything was so much easier when I had it. But it led me astray, led me to places I had better not wander. I am now free, in a very strange place. It's a new experience for me.
Does it feel like freedom?
Yes. I am free here. There's no church telling me what to do. No sword. It's just me and the Inquisitor, and he doesn't seem to be that interested in commanding me around either. I feel free here.
Even with that terrible hacking cough, yes?
Yes. Even with that.
Very well. So, Dante, what did you roll for your direction sense?
11 under 17.
Excellent. All right, so that too is a success. So between the two of you, you are basically able to both agree that, yes, this should be the tributary that we should try. And you pull down now what looks to be almost like a canyon. Like, these, like I said, these rivers seem less carved from natural erosion and more carved into the rock as if from some dull knife wound. And this canyon, it looks like some sort of ripped wound, especially given the fact that it is filled with bloody water. But the plus side is, because it is a canyon, you are able to stay below the lip of the ground level, so to speak, and move unseen beneath the shadow of Bell's Tower as you make your way down this tributary. Until eventually you can come to a place where no longer can you go any farther. It is too shallow and too rocky, and your men would need to disembark and climb the canyon walls to get out of this tributary.
I draw a sigh of relief that we actually made it all the way down here. This was, don't know how long, but it was a perilous journey nonetheless.
Yes, and a number of times. Actually, to be fair, I probably should have made you make a couple of rolls to keep the boat from sinking or whatever, but Dante, you had put so much extra work into repairing the boat. I'm going to say it at least made it this far, although there were probably a couple of very harrowing moments where it looked like a rope might snap or, you know, logs starting to come apart, that sort of thing. But at least it's brought you this far, your trusty little raft.
So, now that we're here, let's see. We're going to need to scale these canyon walls somehow. Is anyone particularly good with climbing? Maybe you could climb up and attach a rope for us.
I suppose I could.
Oh, never mind. I have this, and I pull out one other little potion. If I could take a rope with me, I could attach it up for us.
Why do we all need to climb up? If this is the road, isn't it?
Well, no, the road is above you. You have to get up out of the canyon Do you see where on the map there?
Yes.
You're actually in that little sliver
See.
there, like kind of at the very, very edge.
Right, then you can borrow my rope.
Very well. Then you can take the Inquisitor's rope, and what does Lord Dante do?
I intend to drink my potion of levitation and levitate up to the edge of the cliff.
Very well. Then, without any difficulty, you become lighter than air and can, with just a mental command, float off the ground about 20 feet a minute or so until you can crest the top of this canyon, which we'll say conveniently enough, at least at the far end here, 50 foot of rope will be enough to reach the bottom, and your men can climb and get out. Is everybody getting out at once, or what is the plan? I should also say, Dante, when you come up above the lip of the canyon, you are literally and figuratively in the shadow of Lord Bell's tower. This immense structure, this castle, is beyond your imagination. There could easily be 1 million creatures living in that place. And you think you hear them. You hear the sounds of hundreds, if not thousands, of shouts and chants, and the sounds of the horns of war, shouts of orders, barking orders, military commanders, and the terrible flap of gigantic leathery wings. Dragon-sized wings.
That is terrifying.
All coming from the basically, if you can look on the map there, you can kind of see where that road almost seems to be built up over the surface, like it's above the sort of the ground level, right? Almost like a raised highway. If you can imagine, since you're there on the west side of it, you're on the beneath it, so you can't actually see the road. You're like beneath the road. Does that make sense?
Yes, right.
This road, where does it lead? All roads lead somewhere, right? So, where does a road in hell lead to? Does it lead upward? To heaven? Or is there something yet more sinister lurking below?
Okay, so that's where you are now, and you can drop the rope down to your companions if you wish.
Does it, how difficult would it be for them to scale here? Would it be easy enough, or should I paint some footsteps or something, footholds along the way?
Go ahead and make me an intelligence roll.
2.
Okay, that's an excellent roll. What I will say is that if you decide that you want to paint handholds and footholds to assist the climb, you will give the men advantage, including your other companions as well. Finat, for instance, could probably use an advantage on his climb roll. So if you want to do that, you can do it. What I will also say, though, Dante, is that occasionally overhead, shadows, winged shadows, cover this area, as if there are patrols nearby.
That is scary. I feel a bit stressed by this, but I also realize through this intelligence roll and this assessment of the situation that if I find it terrifying, then so it will probably affect the rest of them and make the climb even more difficult because of what goes on around. So I'd better try and put it out as much help as I can, and with the drying colors of the pigments and the final little drops, I try to paint out steps and handholds to assist the climb.
Very well. Yeah, that is simple enough for you to do with your levitation. You can levitate yourself up and down easily enough. In fact, maybe even at home, when you would work on big frescoes or murals or the like, this is actually how you would work with the use of the levitation magics, so that you could, get to the ceiling level or whatever. This might even take you back, although the stakes here are so much higher.
Yes, it does help me a little bit just to think that way and to sort of get lost a little bit in my work to distract me from the situation.
Very well. Well, probably the irony is there's more than one handhold that you would be actually pretty proud of. You know, how well you painted it. Whether anyone will ever actually appreciate the artistic merit of it or not is perhaps immaterial. But the rest of you, please, if you would, make me a... Well, actually, I believe, Inquisitor Virgil, you actually have a climb roll, right? So you can roll that at advantage, which is a percentile roll, I believe, for you. The rest of you are just rolling strength rolls, but
yes.
you will also have advantage.
So wait, do I roll a percentile dice then?
Yes. Rogues and whatever you are, roll percentile dice.
Before I disembark, I am going to take out my scroll of armor and cast it upon myself.
Okay.
Giving myself a 6 armor class right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't get dispelled until I take 14 points of damage.
Okay, which would probably be enough to almost kill you anyway.
I get a 23 and a 75, so I think that means...
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
You can... you almost don't need the rope. But you can easily zip up the handholds that Magi Harcades left for you, made the climb actually fairly easy. He picked some good ones. How about you, Sir Milton?
I roll a 1.
Oh, you're fine. You are totally fine. In fact, I will even say that if one of your men fails, you'll be able to give him a second saver roll. Let's see. Okay. Actually, that'll be good. All right. How about you, Finot?
I rolled a 4 on an 8.
Okay, you are fine. It's tough going for you. You almost need the men to pull you up.
Yeah.
You just hold onto the rope as they pull you up, but with a little help of the other soldiers, and even with Sir Milton, they can yank you up to the top of the canyon. It is worth noting, Sir Milton might be one of the strongest men you've ever met. He pulls you up with one arm.
Well, I'm also a waif.
Yeah, well, there's that too. There's that too. But Sir Milton, what ends up happening though is towards the end of it, you can see the last of the raft is starting to break apart. The men are sort of jumping off and clinging onto the sides of the canyon. They're scrambling up the rope one at a time as best they can. One of the men skips the rope altogether and just goes up the side. And as he's very, very close to the top, you can see the foothold that he was standing on comes loose, and he begins to fall, taking 2 other men with him. And they all start to tumble down, but you reach out with your hand and you grab the wrist of one of the falling men, and you manage to spare him, plunging into the waters of the river Styx below, which is what the other 2 men do, and make their saves versus poison. Which they both fail. Although the water here isn't really all that deep, anywhere from like waist deep to maybe chest deep, as the men crest the surface of the water again, they are drenched head to toe in blood, and they are looking around very confused, not seeming to know where they are or even who they are.
I frown and quickly remark to Milton, I'm sorry that, from what we'd been told, I think they're as good as dead.
I do not wish to leave anyone behind, but I trust your words on this.
Excuse us! What's going on? Where are we? Who are you? Who am I? Who are you? And then they start talking to each other down there for a little bit.
I frown at this scene and quickly remark to Pickett, Dante, and all those with us, looking behind me and noticing as well the looming fortress of doom.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go now. I'm sorry, we must leave them. I also suggest picking up the brick later down the road. Let's not do it here.
Very well. So you are leaving the 2 men down there, or do you want to pull them up?
Is there a way that I can get them up using the rope? Can I perhaps climb?
Yeah, you could throw them the rope and tell them to grab it, and they seem to obey what you tell them to do.
Yes. Men!
All right, well, it'll take another minute or 2.
I'm not leaving anyone behind. I have shown that before.
All right, that's fine. All right, well, Milton will stay behind at the canyon, pull the rest of the men up. The rest of you can basically, I assume, kind of sneak off or slink off beneath the shadow of the Great Avernus Road to try to get out of the sight of any patrols that might be flying around, yes?
Yes.
Yes, let's stick close to the walls.
Although I will pass a look back to Milton, and I won't command him to follow. I'll sort of let it happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, he stays behind to help those last two men. The rest of them all run. They run for shadow. They run for cover. They run for safety.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then, Sir Milton. Then, one more luck roll, please.
Yes. So I roll a 14 with a... It was a d20, right?
Yes. Yeah. So you missed by 2.
So 14 on 12.
Okay. Well, as you are pulling the last of the men up, the second man, they're cooperating as best they can, and actually even sort of help each other get up out of this water, out of this canyon, or whatever. But as you are doing this, you get the distinct sensation that you are being watched. And as you look up behind you, you can see that there is a figure on the rock that seems to have landed, a winged figure that seems to have landed. It's man-shaped, man-sized, about 5, maybe 6 feet tall, but of a black, scaly, gargoyle-like appearance. And it smiles a big, toothy grin as it looks at you and says, "Hello, back. What you got there?"
And I try to pay him no mind. I try to get the men up, just looking behind me.
All right, well, you get the men up, and they're looking at him, and they're like pointing at each other and pointing at that. And what's that thing there?
I draw my sword then.
And you, all right, well, you draw your sword, and you can see that it is reaching for its belt, where you can see there is a signal horn.
Oh, shit.
Off with you. Go.
Okay, you and all right, so you're yelling at the men to run, and you were going to stay behind and fight. Is that right, Dante? Or Milton, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Milton. Yes. All right, so Milton, roll initiative.
And I assume the rest of us don't see this?
You would probably... No, this would be a surprise round for you.
Okay.
So you can maybe roll initiative next round.
And
This is just him and just Milton and this creature.
initiative was a d20 also, right? Or what's it?
No, I'm sorry. Initiative is D10, and you are adding your presumably your weapon, right? You said you were using your sword.
Yes, I am utilizing my Holy Avenger, and is it the 5 that's in the brackets, or?
Yeah, the whatever's in blue brackets. That's the modifier.
I roll 1, and plus 5 is 6.
Oh, nice, excellent. Well done, Sir Milton. You beat him. You don't beat him by much, but you beat him by enough. He is laughing. The things we're gonna do to you. And as he raises this signal horn to his lips, you strike first. Roll your Thaco.
Yes. All right. I have Thaco 12. I roll my d20. And I roll a 1.
Oh, you roll a 1. Oh, sorry. I am
Ouch.
sorry. Okay.
Oh, you don't want to roll low.
No, you
oh,
wanna
you're
roll
rolling
high.
over then.
No.
Thaco.
Yeah.
No, for attack roll,
that
you
was a
want to roll
critical
high.
fail.
Oh, damn
That
it.
was... I mean, there's not critical fails in second edition, but that is enough to miss him. So, I am going to say, unfortunately, guys, that means he will get... Well, I don't know. Hold on. Wait a second. At your particular level, you actually get 3 attacks every 2 rounds, and I'm actually going to give you your second attack this round.
Oh,
so go
nice.
ahead and make me a follow-up roll.
And I roll a 19.
Okay. The gods are with you. The gods are with you today. What I'm going to say is that, Sir Milton, you see this creature beginning to raise this signal horn to its lips. You know that means the death of you and your companions, without a doubt. You rush forward with everything you have. You swing with all your might towards this creature's head, and while you do not connect with its neck, you do connect with its signal horn. And you smash it to pieces, and it cannot signal for help. It cries out in dismay, "Ugh! Piking back! You'll pay for that!" But he does not manage to alert his companions. What do the rest of you do? Are you all rolling initiative now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I rolled
Okay.
15.
So now we hear the commotion and turn back to see this.
Now you hear the commotion. You turn around to see Sir Milton. Yeah, so again, to roll initiative, you're rolling a die 10, and you are adding whatever modifier it is of the thing that you are doing. And I assume in this case you're all going to be on the same side, so we don't need to declare,
Yes.
who's doing what to whom. You can just tell me what you're going to be doing on your turn.
Yes, I don't intend to backstab just now. No. I roll a
I
7.
rolled a
Not this.
15.
15 on your initiative? Okay. That's with your sun sword, I take it, yes?
No, that's with my iron, silver, obsidian scourge.
Oh, okay, excellent. So that was 15 for Virgil. How about Dante, and how about Finot?
7 for me.
7.
I am. Let's see. Uncontrollable laughter, magic missile. Ooh. I'm gonna go magic missile. So 11.
11. Okay. Excellent. All right. Then that means it is actually, surprisingly enough, it is actually the druid who acts first. And he, without warning, begins to sprint back across the field to stand side by side with Sir Milton. And as he does so, he pulls out that adamantine scimitar that has been on his belt all this time. And for the first time, you actually watch him wield it. And you are struck with the distinct impression that he is moving this blade faster than is humanly or elvenly possible. It is a blade of supernatural speed as he comes forward to strike at this black gargoyle-like creature. And he hits it. He hits it. For... Excellent damage. Excellent. Nice. So, Sir Milton, you have struck a mighty blow, smashed this creature's signal horn as it turns to face you. There from the side comes the sweeping blade of the druid that strikes this creature along its shoulder, and it howls in anger. Next up is Dante.
Yes. Spinning around seeing this, I get a bit frustrated. We can't cause a commotion out here. I flick up from my side a little wand, and it glows of snake skin. And I flick it towards the being to fire off an acid arrow.
Very well. Well, you will need to make me an attack roll, a Thaco roll.
Okay. Let's see. That's just a d20.
Yes, just a d20.
5. I roll.
A 5 attack roll?
Yes.
I don't think that's going to hit him. No, I'm sorry, Dante. So you fire a bolt of acidic, basically an acidic bolt, right? An arrow of acid.
Yes.
In its direction, but it manages to duck out of the way, and it careens into the rock instead, burning a vicious hole of corrosion where it strikes. Finot, your action.
Okay, magic missile. And I got 3. Oh man, that was good. Okay, so that is let's see, 11, 12, 13, 14 points of damage.
Nice! Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so 3 bolts of magical energy careen into this thing's body, sending scales and blood flying, and now it's starting to howl. Now it's starting to actually become increasingly angry. But it is actually its attack. So this creature will now attempt to turn its full attacks upon Sir Milton, which means it begins to hover in the air using its wings. It will make 2 claw attacks with its rear claws and 1 tail attack. 1 claw will hit. Oh, but you are lucky the tail does not. The tail strikes directly into your chest, and it has almost like a scorpion-like protrusion on the end of it. But Sir Milton takes only 4 points of damage from 1 slash across his face from this thing's back claw.
I groan in pain.
The men will also move in, but I don't think any of them... I'm going to just have 2 attacks. 1 rolls a nat 20. Go. We'll say it's actually Reginald. Reginald rolls a nat 20. All right. Go, Reggie. I'm going to say he was using a Morning Star, right? So he's 2 die 4. And he will do 4 more points of damage to this thing. Good job. All right. And that means it is Inquisitor Virgil's turn. You are the last to go.
I sigh in anger and frustration. I knew this would happen, and I have to go and risk everything to save Milton. His heart was always too soft. I charge forward, wielding my scourge, filled with many different materials: cold iron, silver, and obsidian. Or obsidian, even.
Or obsidian. It's like gold. It's called golden ice.
What is a scourge?
It's like a sort of flail type, Morning Star type thing, right?
Yeah, it's more designed for torture, though. In the what was it? Like Christ got scorched.
Yes. My reasoning here, however, is the cold iron. I'm hoping from my knowledge that that might be bad at him. So yes, I charge forward and attack him with my cold iron, silver, obsidian scourge.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Give me an attack roll.
D20, yes.
Mm-hmm.
18.
Excellent. That hits. That easily hits, actually. And so go ahead and roll me damage.
4 damage.
4 damage. Oh, it's not dead. It is so close, though. It is so close. All right, so basically, now you have surrounded this thing. It was trying to take to the air, but you and your men, you keep, laying on the hits, and it can't quite get to the air. And then it's basically landed back onto the ground. Pike in, Lord Bell's going to turn you all inside out. But it is Sir Milton's action.
Yes, and then now I shall strike this creature again, and this time I will not miss. Yet I roll a 15 on that go 12, so that is quite good.
Yeah, that is a success. That will hit. And not only that, let's say this. Sir Milton, it has been a long journey. And this journey, it has started long before you came to this place, didn't it? This quest of yours. But today, finally, you see its purpose. Finally here, you realize why it is that you have been brought here. And you feel something return to you that you have not felt in what may now have been years. The grace of your God has returned. And you feel the light of Solaris fill your heart as your paladin abilities return to you, and your sword flares to life. Its enchantments are returned, and it greets you with the most beautiful sense of approval as you bring your mighty sword to cleave this demon in twain, slaying it for all time as its essence dissolves into the plane of Baator itself, leaving nothing but a stinking pile and a few latent curses in abyssal.
I pant and I'm filled with joy. I haven't been this happy.
And your cough disappears.
And that too. I love this place. I say I love this place so much. Come now.
I look at you with a smile and I say, that was a good strike, Sir Vespers.
Whether you realize it or not, you have all noticed a change come over Milton. If not physically, at least spiritually. Yes? Emotionally? His attitude has changed.
I am so Finot is so confused right now. That was Milton that said, "I love this place so much." What? Even I'm taken aback by that statement.
I simply frown, nod, and go, "Well done, Milton. Now we run." And I begin running in the opposite direction as fast as possible to the south.
Very well.
Okay. How far is that kind of rock outcropping with all of the spiny finger, stalagmites?
Yeah, at this point you could actually probably even see it from where you are. It'd be in the distance, but you could see it.
Okay. And casting locate object, is there a suitable brick, maybe one that's been, come loose from the road and has found its way down into our area?
I was going to let you make a roll, but yeah, chances are that will work. Okay, so... Alright, so you all begin to run away from this scene and where this creature was as quickly as possible, making your way beneath the shadow of the Great Avernus Road and keeping an eye out for bricks that you could perhaps collect. At current, does not seem to be anything that you can collect, but Lord Pickett, I believe you wanted to cast a spell and look
I'm casting locate object.
All right, so you are
must
locating.
Make haste. We need to get out of here. I'm going to find a brick as fast as possible. I'm going to cast a spell.
Very well, very well. So you will cast a spell of locate object. Obviously, a number of objects nearby within the range of your spell qualify for this. You have located literally hundreds of thousands of bricks in range. However, you are trying to find the ones that are closest to you, and you were hoping that some maybe had even fallen off this promontory. But let's see how lucky you are. Oh, not at current. You have to keep moving. Okay, so as you guys begin to make your way basically now farther south along, paralleling the Great Avernus Road, you can see where as it moves farther away from Lord Bell's castle, it becomes more even with the grade of the rest of the land. Does that make sense? As you're basically getting closer to what you can now see in the distance is likely this portal that was described to you, this large promontory, this plateau of tentacle-like stone structures or what have you.
Rob, real quick, just so my locate object spell only lasts 6 rounds, so I would have identified the closest possible brick, and I'd be making my way that way.
Yes, excellent. So you can start to make your way in that direction. However, as you round this embankment and get a good view of the actual road for the first time, you can tell that retrieving this key will be far more difficult than you had anticipated. For on the road, the pillar described, a vast army of fiends assembles, apparently mustering for battle. There is little break in the mass of thousands of black bodies milling about on the road, and the roaring of these creatures as they sing their cacophonous battle song feels deafening. And for those of you who speak Infernal, you could actually even make out the lyrics, which sounds something like, "Oh, jubilant flame! Oh, jubilant flame! Oh, redolent blood! Oh, redolent blood! My heart swells, not from pain, but pride. My heart swells not from pain, but pride. And that is the Baatorian war song. However, nearby to where you are at, you can in fact see what I suppose would strike you as something of a signpost. There is a post near the road with multiple signs pointing in different directions, written in Infernal, but some of you can read that. Namely, you can see a sign for Lord Bell's castle, pointing, directly up the road. Oh, I'm sorry, I should also say this signpost is decorated, we should say, with the impaled skeleton of a screaming petitioner who has been basically lashed to this signpost with bony fingers pointing in either direction and signs hanging from his arms. In one direction, the signs say, "The Temple of Tiamat" and "Dis," while in the other direction, it says, "The Gate Town of Ribcage."
Well, it's all good and fine, but we need to get over there, and we need to get a brick. Quickly.
Mm-hmm. You do need to get a brick, but there are thousands of fiends nearby. What will you do?
Real quick, the road, is it like a cliff up to the road?
Yeah, I would say so.
So not something we can just walk up to the edge?
Well, maybe something like an embankment. Maybe half something like 45 degrees, you half climb, half walk, that kind of thing.
Is it possible to kind of sneak up and like get a brick from sort of the edge of the road and then kind of slink back?
Yeah, is it possible? Certainly. Who would like to try?
If anyone's not too keen, I suppose I could be my turn to summon a servant.
Yes.
Good idea. Do that.
I huddle down beside the road and I cast the incantation.
Before he does that, Finot, was there any advice you wanted to give him based on your previous experiences?
Oh, with the unseen servant?
Mm-hmm.
I say, be careful. These servants seem to have a will of their own in this place.
And I stop for a minute. Yes, but it did obey you at first, did it?
It did seem at first, but I think if you try to put it in harm's way, is when it becomes willful.
What other options are there?
I think if you have force of will enough, you can command it. I was not.
I might have, but do you think there's a risk it would give us away?
I think there's just a risk that it might refuse to obey. I think it's worth a try.
It's worth a try, yes. Otherwise, I also have this, and I hold up a potion that you probably identify as an invisibility potion.
Oh, jeez. Well, yes. Hold on to that, but see if you can make your servant obey your will first.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I suggest while you are casting your spell and doing this, we all begin to make our way to the portal itself. If this works, we will need to immediately get going.
Right.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Very well. So who is staying behind and who is making their way towards the portal?
Finot says, why don't you leave 2 or 3 men with Dante? The rest of us be on our way.
Right.
Agreed.
I shall stay as well.
You're staying as well. All right.
And I hand, just to get my hands free, I hand over the invisibility potion to you, Finot.
Oh, okay.
And off you go then, and
Okay.
I start casting my spell.
Very well. You can cast Unseen Servant, but make me a spellcraft roll at -5.
Alright. Let's see what happens. Oh, I roll a 2.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, then that is successful. While you can feel your servant is willful, rebellious even, you have managed to layer on additional enchantments, bindings that keep it in check here in this place. Bindings that you might not actually want to share with the Inquisitor that you know, but they work, and the Unseen Servant obeys.
Interesting.
What do you order it to do?
And with these bindings, I try to insist on it, getting up there, and as carefully as possible, lodging loose one of those stones for us to bring back with us.
Very well. Very well. Then what I will say is that's actually a really good use of it, so let's just make a luck roll.
Ha!
Oh, but your luck sucks. Your luck sucks. That might not be so great.
I think I rolled like 4. Yes.
You rolled really lucky the last time you rolled luck.
Yeah, I rolled under 4, did I?
Yeah, you rolled a 1 the last time. What'd you roll this time?
Okay, let's see then. 13.
Yeah, okay. So what I will say is, the Unseen Servant is good for regular tasks, right? Cleaning and, mending, that kind of stuff. It's basically, Fantasia magic or whatever, right?
Yes.
But in this case, the bricks are actually mortared in place, and the Unseen Servant does not have the strength to pull one out.
Okay, fine. Then Finot, does he recognize that this is unsuccessful?
Well, I thought you left.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
Yeah.
I thought only Dante, Milton, and 3 of the men stayed behind.
I look to Dante. Are you able to get it loose?
You see me just watch in the distance, and I mutter to myself, yes. What?
Are you able to get it loose? We must go.
It seems to be mortared, stuck to the ground. I'm just feeling it struggle.
If you want to send it looking, it might be able to find a loose one, but it might take a while.
We do not have the time.
What do you suggest then?
I shall go and get it. If it's stuck, I should be able to get it loose.
They will see you for sure.
Yes, they will.
There are thousands of devils on the road here.
The rest of us have managed to make it far enough away that we wouldn't be able to look back and see the progress.
I think at this point, probably you wouldn't be, certainly not be able to do anything about it.
Would you give your life for this?
We must get out of here. We must leave this place. And I see no other way, or unless you do. I do not wish to throw my life away, of course.
I try to rack my mind going through the spells and the ideas that I would have, but I have nothing that would be able to tear this thing off easier than anything else.
Very well. Well, as the time goes on, and you rack your brain for an idea, Sir Milton, roll me luck.
20.
So you fail.
Yes.
It is not your lucky day. Okay, well, at this point, an hour has passed, and there does not seem to be any signs of movement. This army just seems to be assembling. If anything, more troops, more units, more platoons and divisions seem to be joining this army. And in time, in fact, you actually see dragons. Giant, demonic dragons land from the sky farther up the road, more to the east of Bell's Tower.
Wait, so you're saying an hour has passed now since we've attempted to get this brick?
About an hour later, you would have reached the promontory, and at this point, it is abandoned. There is no one there. Or at least you don't see anyone as you approach it.
And we know that they're not coming. How far is the road from here?
It's about an hour's walk.
So me and Pickett are now at the portal, but the others are an hour away.
Mm-hmm.
Although now they can get the brick.
In theory, well, it's been an hour and they haven't gotten it yet. I mean, that's the thing. You guys can't communicate at this distance. If anything, they're taking too long. They should have been here by now.
Okay, so then my question is, you said that the unseen servant can continue to look, but it would take a while. It's been an hour. Has it found anything?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I forgot to resolve that. Was that your orders, Dante? Do you want him to look for more bricks?
Yes, I mean, we were just discussing how to solve this, but...
Right.
I mean, if he decides to go up, then I will ask him to give the brick to the servant if he gets one loose. And then start running.
I'm going to leave this to Milton. Milton, do you want to risk your life, sneak up there, try to steal a brick, and leave without being spotted? Or do you want to be patient and wait to see if the unseen servant can find a loose brick, or maybe find one loose enough that it can get loose? It's just going to look around and see if it can find one. You won't know it until it comes back. It's a matter of patience, or it's a matter of boldness. Which do you want to do?
Well, I do wish to test my newfound powers again, but I am not that eager to die. No, let's allow the servant to look a little bit more. There's time to die yet.
All right. Excellent. Fair enough. Then I will say that patience has its own rewards. And while it pushes an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes, eventually your unseen servant comes back from the other side of the road, where it had managed to gather a brick that had been kicked loose from the road, fallen down the hill, and got buried in the dust. But it comes back, Dante, and it hands this brick to you. As this happens, you hear the sound of a horn coming from out of Bell's castle that echoes across the plain. And as this brick is being laid in your hand, you can see that there is a figure that has begun to wing its way out of the castle down towards the road in this general direction. The brick is, of course, made of, let's say, black stone, and you can see that there is something written on it. But what do you do at this moment?
Can I read it?
Do you want to read it?
Yeah, if it's like not a book written on it.
No, it's just one. It's like one sentence. Actually, roll me a die 10, and we'll see what's written on it.
6.
A 6, huh? It says there, we'll say in a language that you can actually read, I just wished he could love me again.
Huh, that's strange. Let's go.
Yes, let's.
All right, very well. As you begin to make your way towards the hill, making haste away from this, you can see now behind you that figure that had winged its way out of the castle has landed amongst this army. He towers over the rest. He must be 25 feet tall. Giant fiery wings carrying a whip of fire and some kind of huge falchion-like blade. And he speaks to his men in a terrible, booming voice. that echoes across the plane. And while he does speak in Infernal, Dante, you can, of course, understand what he says. And he yells to his men,
"The great old ones move against us to Tiamat's dungeon world. Double time quick!
And with that, orders are given, and the army snaps to attention and begins to march in the opposite direction of where you are going. And you can make your way away.
Oh, thank Baator.
But as you are beginning to make your way across the plains towards this promontory where your companions must await you, this brick in your hand, a late patrol to this army's mustering, starts winging its way across the fields. It seems to contain 50 of those gargoyle-like creatures, 40 of which are probably black-scaled like the one you fought, but 10 of them at least are red-scaled. And while they were in haste to basically join up with the rest of the army, they spot you as they fly, and they change direction and begin to give chase as you make your way towards the portal. What do you do?
Let's see, it's me and Sylvespers or Milton and
Three of the men.
Three of the men.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have any understanding of whether or not these are devils? Could they be turned using my turn devils?
You have not experimented with that just yet.
Are they anywhere? At this point, I imagine me and Pickett have been standing for almost an hour at this portal waiting.
Yeah, well, you've been tapping your feet waiting for them to come. I will say that I want to know what they want to do. Whether they want to turn and face them or whether they want to fight.
Oh, because I was just going to say that if they can even see me at this point, I'm mouthing, "Run, you fools, run."
Well, you're too far away
there
at
you
this
go.
point. You would see them coming if they started to run.
Are they
Does that
30
make
yards
sense?
away?
No, not even close.
Okay, yeah.
They've got hundreds of yards to cross.
Yep, no,
before
fine,
they-
let's go.
I shall cast turn devils and then I shall run.
Okay. That's fine. You activate your amulet and you begin to run. Dante, what do you do?
So I can summon a mount, but that would only take 2 of us, right? At most.
Well, right. And what's the casting time on mount?
Oh, good point.
Mm-hmm.
3, 2. No, wait a second. Casting time, 1 turn. Yeah, so that's 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah, you don't have 10 minutes.
And I cannot call my warhorse either, right?
You have. Well, you've not tried. This is all new to you. Do you want to try?
Yeah.
I have no idea what kind of mount would come out, but yes, I need 10 minutes.
Yeah. So do you run?
Yes.
What do you guys do? Just
run.
tell me. All right, you run. All right, if you're running, make me dexterity rolls.
16.
So you fail.
Yes.
17.
Yes.
I'll fail too.
So you fail. Okay, so Dante, you take 3 points of damage. Milton, you take 2 points of damage. Basically, as you bump into sharp rocks, tripping over things as you run. 2 of your men keep pace. 1 of them falls behind. Do you continue to run?
No. Everyone's coming. Everyone's coming. I'm getting him.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay, Dante, though, that means you run, right? You don't stop, right? You keep going?
I'll summon a monster summoning, I suppose, and try to keep that occupied.
Do you want to cast that spell?
Yes.
Okay, so you're casting that, not running. You're standing with Milton.
Yes.
Okay. At this point, gentlemen, I would say that you start to see the signs of battle across the field. Basically, you can see a spell has been cast. What sort of creatures are you summoning, Dante?
In a monster summoning, it's more of a horde of creatures. 2d4 first level monsters.
Well, right, so I just want to know what your imagination tells you. It doesn't matter how they're statted. I'll worry about the stats. You just tell me what creatures you want.
Something preferably that could fly and counter them in flight, and something that will just delay them, preferably.
Okay, like what?
Like some sort of, maybe not eagle-like creatures.
Okay. Yes, you could do falcons. You certainly
Yes.
know birds of prey, raptors, and the like. So we can say that you summon 2d4 birds.
Yes.
I rolled max. You summon 8. you will summon 8 birds, and whether or not they are under your command, we'll say that they'll at least create some distraction for you. And
After I've summoned this flock of birds, I immediately realize the danger of any summoning here. I look at them closely. Do they do they all look demonic, just like the links from the Bag of Holding?
yes, indeed, they do look quite demonic, but in fact, that also seems to have made them quite a bit more aggressive, and they have turned that aggression towards the foes that are now pursuing you.
Alright, I see this, that the aggression is definitely multiplied in here from the birds, and I'm just thankful they decided to go towards our pursuers rather than us.
So what does that mean? Does that mean that you're going to stay and fight? Are you going to run? Are you going to cast another spell? What do you do?
I take a second as I look back, and I think maybe I should get even more of them just to buy us more time. But no, I better make my way hurriedly. No.
Does that mean that you turn and run again, or do you...
Better run for the portal.
Okay, so you will turn and run. How about
Yes.
Milton? Are you going back for that last man?
Yes.
Okay. Let's roll that guy's luck. Okay. What I will basically say is you are too late for that man. As you basically run back the way you came, you crest the edge of a boulder, and you can see that man is being set upon by 3 or 4 of these gargoyle creatures, and they have torn him to pieces.
Jonah, no! And I start running.
Run, sir, run! Okay, you all run.
Do they get to us?
They are. All right. What I will say is that you guys are standing basically at the base of this promontory. You can see where there is a set of steps carved into this plateau that leads up to whatever is inside it. It's beneath your field of vision from here. Before, you did not see a figure standing there at all, but now you do. There is the figure of a man silhouetted at the top of these stairs. That's what you see in front of you. Behind you, you can see the signs of battle, shouts, and the sounds of those men running. Actually, the first 2 of the temple soldiers would probably be the first to run right up to you, Inquisitor, and... Sir Milton, he fell behind, sir, he fell behind.
It matters not. Quick, the brick.
The wizard has it, sir, the wizard has it. And they point at Dante, who is the next one running up.
Fenton yells, "Brick, throw it to me!"
I have my unseen servant carry it to him.
Okay, well, I'm actually not sure if the unseen servant can run at the speed that you can move. But regardless, we'll say that you can hand the brick off to Lord Pickett, who now can turn and face this figure on the stairs. Atop this spiny outcropping stands a lone humanoid figure silhouetted in the evanescent glow of torches set around the hill. Its arms folded, feet firmly planted, it seems to be waiting. This male humanoid figure has black hair, a stabbing gaze, and angular features, giving off an aura of power, self-confidence, and arrogance. As you draw near, the figure raises both hands in greeting. His hands are empty, but you can't help but notice the extraordinary length of his fingernails, full 3 to 4 inches in length. He appears to mean you no harm, as evidenced by his hearty welcome, which, as far as you can tell, sounds only in your head.
What ho, travelers! I bid you good health, and pray that your journey so far has proved pleasant. I am Archimedes, Lord Bell's portal warden. What can I do for you?
You're the one! Here, quick! The brick! Open the portal to Sigil! There's no time to
No!
wait!
The portal's Terragastia! And I raise my weapon to Pickett.
I yell back, this was not a portal to Terragastia, it was a portal to Sigil. In Sigil we'll find the door to Terragastia. You fool! There's no time for this!
I lower my weapon. I can't remember if that's true or not, so I have to.
I'm running towards that guy with the brick out, and I hand it to him. At this point, I'm not even paying attention to Frostkiss. If he's coming out with the sword, he's coming out with the sword.
Okay, well, that's fine. Well, you can climb the stairs, Frostkiss, you shortly after, and the rest can follow suit. But this figure of Archimedes, he stands in your way. He holds up a hand. He says,
I do not need that brick. You need that brick to open this portal to the City of Doors, which I permit you to do. But I believe one of you has something for me first.
The cube! And I reach in and I pull out the black obsidian cube. Here!
He gasps in astonishment as he accepts it. He holds it in his hands, and you can see waves of energy, psychic energy, just pouring off of him. And he smiles. He holds the cube, and you watch as it begins to change, to morph. And it transforms from the shape of a perfect black cube to the shape of a perfect black sphere. And he hands it back to you, Finot. And he says,
Do you consent to take this with you willingly through the portal to the City of Doors?
Yes, he does.
Yes.
Very well. I have your consent. So be it.
and with that, he will step aside and allow you. Now you can see beyond the lip of this promontory is sort of like the strange puckered orifice with some sort of eerie orangish pussy looking water floating in the bottom of it. But as you come closer with the brick begins to glow, and so does the water.
Okay. Boom, through. And just so you know, I'm preparing a spell as soon as I get through.
Well...
So you are jumping through.
Yeah.
Does that mean... what? But really, we should resolve this with initiative, assuming everyone wants to do something.
well, I'm afraid I can't help but feel trickery is afoot. I can't help but feel something's gone wrong, but there's no time. I look at this army, and I jump through.
Excellent. Okay, so Pickett jumps through. The Inquisitor follows suit. Does that mean the rest of you follow suit as well?
Yeah. Seeing that there's an army coming here and there's no place to hide.
They are nipping at your heels. They will be here in moments.
Yes. I look towards that direction where this dungeon of Tiamat, where that lair is, but no, this is not the time. No, later. I will come back.
Later. Very well, so you will jump through the portal as well. And Magi Harcades, I assume?
No, I look at Nyx. No time more to waste here. It is tempting. This place. It's just so much here that I want to explore. But no, we must flee. This is an army. We cannot fight. I look at Nyx. I look into his eyes. We can't afford to stay here any second longer.
So I assume you as well will go through the portal?
Yes, we're fleeing now.
Excellent, excellent. Well, unfortunately... You never asked. The brick will only let 3 people through the gate. Or, sorry, 6 people through the gate. So, Brother Mark Maple will also come through, and one of your soldiers, and that's it. Sorry. Stepping through the portal, you feel a moment of disorientation as you leave the stench and sight of Avernus behind. But nothing as jarring as you experienced when you entered that horrible place. You step through an archway into the bustle of a city, but it resembles no city you've ever seen before. Mixed with the typical humanoid citizens, fiends walk the streets. Though others give them wide berth, no one seems to think their presence at all strange. Sedan chairs carrying creatures who can't or won't walk, and bizarre vendors hawk their wares frantically to passers-by. The crowd seems a collection of fascinating bodies, and once you've gotten past the shock of seeing fiends alongside ordinary mortals, you are further surprised to see angelic beings also dotting the crowd. In addition to the familiar humans, elves, and dwarves, you spy humanoids you've also never seen before, and centaur-like beings with the bodies of rams. All these creatures are dressed outlandishly.
As soon as I step through, I'm distancing myself from Frostkiss. I assume disorientation and such will allow me a few steps.
Mm-hmm.
I am waiting for Sir Milton to come through. The moment Sir Milton steps through that portal, or falls through that portal, I am casting suggestion on him.
Okay. So, you would cast that spell.
He has to make a savings throw versus spell.
Mm-hmm. Which is... Hold on, I'll look up real quick. Milton, your save versus spell...
No, it's Frostkiss, wasn't it?
13. Is it Frostkiss, or who are you casting
No,
on?
Milton.
Frostkiss?
I am casting it on Sir Milton.
Okay.
So that's a 13. Yeah. Oh, actually, sorry. It's actually an 11 now because you get +2 on your saves, being a paladin.
3.
Okay, so you fail. You fail. So what is your suggestion for Sir Milton?
As soon as Sir Milton steps through, I cast the spell, and Finat says, Sir Milton, there is no path back to Terragastia. The way is shut, and I will not go, and you will not make me. And you will make sure that Frostkiss does not follow me, or Dante if he chooses to go. Now stop him. Hold him fast while we escape.
Okay. Well, what would Dante do in response to the suggestions?
Yeah, I would also yell then over to Dante. Dante, are you with me? There's no way back. And we're here in Sigil now, the Concordant City.
As this is mentioned, the city of Sigil, I can't stop thinking about the drawing inside the Archmage's anthology. Why, even have the book with me on my person right now. Oh, what if he discovered that I had it? I know so much of this is my fault. Him being hunted, his books being discovered, discarded, or kept for safekeeping. I don't want him to know that I still have that book. It would just bring up old things, old wounds that are better closed.
We must find the Athars. The Athars, they have the secrets. Please, come. This is our chance.
I look hesitantly between the two parties, and then I say, I'm sorry, and I run after Finnet.
Oh, so, alright, so that's...
I start booking it into the crowd.
Alright, that'll be fine. Then this is what we'll say. Then you guys, at least for the moment, manage to disappear into the crowd as Sir Milton and the Inquisitor are distracted.
I make to struggle against suddenly being held against my will. But then, it hits me. The heat. The exhaustion. The fatigue. I feel the light of my god further away now than ever. And I collapse.
The magicians are getting away. Every fiber of my being just screams out, catch them, they are a threat, a danger. Yet I am compelled to do otherwise.
By the time I look up, I can see my foes escaping into the crowd, and I know I will be unable to catch up with him now. I don't even know where we are. A city of some kind. So many people. It dawns on me that this was his plan all along, wasn't it? And I fell for it perfectly. For a moment, I'd actually begun to doubt myself. I'd started to believe that maybe I'd been wrong. That Finnet was the victim he claimed to be, just a weak fool, caught up in things he didn't truly understand. He played me, of course, just like my father. Was anything he said even remotely true? No. No, it was all a plan to get me to bring him here. Further into hell. What does this place offer him, I wonder? The keys to power? To godhood? Or those illusions he made to wanting more? Oh, how could I have been so blind? Try my best to stand as I yell out, damn you, Pickett! I will find you! You hear me? I will stop you! And I take to a knee as I struggle to even remain conscious.
At the end of the day, do they even matter? Not to me. The only thing that matters to me is finding Stormsong again.
Free me, Sir Vespers!
Finding my redemption. If this place is a city of doors, then perhaps there's a door that leads back to where she is.
Milton, please find me!
My quest now will be to find her and to free her. And together we will once more roam the skies.
I vow, in the name of Solaris, that I will find you, Pickett. You wish to become a god, is that it? Was our world a test to see if you could achieve such a thing? Was casting it into darkness merely an accident? Or was that also part of your plan? I will drag you back to our home and have you answer for your crimes. And if we truly are as lost as you say, Well, then I will drive my blade straight through your heart. Before I see you achieve your goals. Oh, damn your sorcery. Damn all sorcery. Damn the other wizard for siding with you. I trusted him as well. Damn you all. Most of all, damn me for believing in you. I thought I'd learned at least one thing from my father. Instead, I've been conned again. I forgot the most important thing. Truth is bone deep. To hell with you, Lord Philip Pickett. To hell with you.
Making your way into the City of Doors, this city of Sigil, you are faced first with the most mind-bending sight. For the street before you, the horizon, so to speak, rises up like a hill before you, but rather than coming to a peak, it continues to rise, and rise, and rise, and rise until the street has become a loop, a hoop over your head, and there, almost 6 miles away, you can see the other side of this city, all built in the interior of this gigantic ring that seems to hover over what could possibly be some sort of gigantic mountain. It is very, very difficult to tell. However, you are faced with all manner of strange and bizarre sights as you two attempt to flee and basically become lost in the city of Sigil.
Yeah, which I say to Dante, Dante, let us lose ourselves. The easier for them to lose us.
Mm-hmm. Very well. So you start turning random corners in this bizarre that you find yourself in, and at one point you actually encounter a strange creature. You almost bump into him. He is in the process of trimming some strange spiky weed, a weed of razor-like leaves, and one of the other citizens seems to be conversing with this creature. However, it does not seem to speak in words. It seems to speak in pictures to it that hover almost like sigils around its head that you can interpret as language almost. And Finot, you are convinced, beyond convinced, that these sigils, they're secret math sigils. These creatures are speaking in the language of the secret math.
But Finot, okay, so Finot would go up and he'd say, "You there? Those images. Is that the secret math? Do you know the Athar? Do you know where we can find the Athar?"
Okay, Finot. Before this creature appears a strange sigil that your mind immediately begins to interpret as a mathematical diagram, which appears to be an equation depicting where matter reaches a point of instability. Basically, where something is about to reach its melting point. But of course, as this is the secret math, that concept is all summarized in one elegant symbol. And then that sigil floating around this creature's head suddenly morphs to a different symbol, this being one where the subject of an experiment returns to its baseline state. Basically, a state of calm. Dante, to you, you see a floating symbol next to this creature take on the shape of a giant clamshell. And right next to it are the capital letters L and A, and you watch as they swap places. And then right next to that is an arrow that points straight down towards the cobblestones at Finot's feet.
As I see these symbols, I'm not sure what to make of them. L and A? And what is that arrow supposed to mean? I look at Finot, somewhat confused.
And then its eyes sort of scan you up and down and widen when they land on that orb in your hand. At this point, Dante, you look over and you see the strangest creature you have ever seen. There is a man, sort of a man. It is a cube person. It looks like a 3-foot tall walking cube that is a amalgamation of both flesh and metal, seemingly all fused together with these strange metallic vestigial wings and long metallic arms and legs, with this wide eyes and a wide face, and it's looking at the both of you up and down very, very curiously. And so, this creature actually points at that black orb that Finot was holding, and he says,
blood, what's the dark of that blue orb?
And at that point, that is when this creature, this sigil-speaking creature, is joined by another, and then a third. And the two of you look around, and you can see that you are now being surrounded by these strange purple-skinned creatures with shocks of white hair and actually a twin set of horns, one like a goat and one like a ram that protrude from their head. And then they start displaying a number of mysterious, confusing, perplexing secret math sigils. And then you realized that they have all changed to show a single form, the form of a woman wrapped in a collar ablaze. And as you look down, you can see now that a shadow has fallen over the group of you. A shadow of a similar shape.
Turn to look.
You turn to look and you see the floating figure of a woman. She is 20-25 feet tall, beautiful, terrifying, dark, piercing eyes, and what appears to be a collar made of blades, like an Elizabethan collar made of blades, although on closer inspection, it may be actual protrusions from her body itself. And she looks at you with the most piercing eyes, and with a single gesture, she points at that black orb, and it crumbles to dust.
Huh.
And her shadow grows darker and darker and darker and darker and darker.
This episode features music from the enhanced soundtrack of the classic video game Planescape Torment.
Created by Black Isle Studios and provided courtesy of the brilliant folks at Beamdog.
Visit beamdog.com to access digital downloads of more classic RPG video games, remastered gaming soundtracks, and other great role-playing resources.
This episode of To Baator and Back features music from
Metatron Omega,
Off the album Gnosis Day,
Atrium Carceri,
Off the album Codex,
the Cryo Chamber collaboration,
Off the album Azathoth,
Flowers for Body Snatchers,
Off the album Aoki Gahara,
and made available courtesy of their label Cryo Chamber. Visit cryochamber.bandcamp.com for more dark ambient.
Various music and Foley content used in this program has been made available for use under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. But extra special thanks is due to Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech, David Feslian at feslianstudios.com, and the many inspired folks over at zapsplat.com and freesound.org. The Black Spire RPG campaign episodes simply would not be possible without the use of these resources.
If you're curious for more, find Black Spire Studios on Facebook or visit Robert Randle's site, thereliquum.com, a blog about art and magic, comics and gaming, and how they all tie together. For more information concerning his various projects, you can follow him on Twitter at thereliquum and his actual play podcast at Black Spire Pod.
And releasing on the weeks opposite to Black Spy, you can hear Rob and Aaron on their other podcast, Adventure Hook, where each episode these two comic book pros develop a random story idea for game masters to incorporate into their own RPGs. Find Adventure Hook on Facebook and Twitter, and also be sure to follow Aaron using his handle at allmancampbell. And be sure to submit new ideas for their random D20 tables using the hashtag #NewAdventureHook.
And of course, be sure to visit redmoonroleplaying.com to listen to more dark actual play RPG adventure,
including such games as Cult Divinity Lost,
The Curse of Strahd,
Vampire the Masquerade, and a lot of other games and one-shots.